Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a fun, full-pack show of Bullseye tonight. We are moments away from having my one and only co-host, Bradley Lewis Walker, on with us tonight. And believe me, we got an unbelievable full-pack show for you today. We're going to be previewing the UCF game, the War on I-4 game, coming up this Friday. That's right. Me and Bradley Lewis Walker. We're going to be then followed by Billy Henderson, former USF running back from 2002 to 2004. The great years, I call them. Then we are going to be previewing both the men's and women's upcoming basketball season. But before we get Bradley Lewis and myself on, we got some breaking sports news out of USF.
Audio Jungle.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Bullseye. We got some breaking news coming out of the USF Athletic Department as I bring in my co-host, Bradley Lewis Walker. Bradley, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm good. And before we go on, I want everyone to wish my co-host a happy anniversary. Him and his wife both. Happy anniversary to you, Larry.
Thank you so much, Bradley. I surely appreciate that. I really do. Whoa, where did Bradley go? He wishes me a happy anniversary, and he gets thrown off the show. Look at that. Let's see if we can get him back on there. There he is. There you go, Bradley. Bradley, as you probably know, but we want to make sure all the fans know, and I know you get the report first, but that's why we're starting out with some breaking news out of the USF Athletic Department. Just a couple of hours ago, we found out it was reported to Frankly Speaking Sports and our Bullseye Network that Johnny Ford no longer will remain with the team. The redshirted sophomore supposedly had a rift between coaches in the past couple of days, and he no longer will play with the Bulls going forward. Supposedly, from what we're hearing, he was not kicked off the team. This was his decision. It may be more than they are actually saying, but as of now, Johnny Ford is no longer a University of South Florida Bull, and he is transferring.
Yeah, actually, Larry, it's funny. Yeah, I just saw that on Facebook there before I came on. That's disappointing. I know he had some issues last year. Charlie Strong's last year. He was one of the guys that I think was out of the bowl game. He had some off the field issues. So if he transfers, I wish him the best of luck. Obviously, that's not going to help USF this week against the heavily favored Knights. So yeah, that's another niche in the side that USF did not need going into the war.
And I think this was a decision among the coaches. And this is what we're going to talk about the UCF game. We know UCF is probably favored by more points than miles they are away from us right now. But, the one thing that I am looking forward to, and I mean this in the most professional way, no disrespect towards the USF football team or Coach Jeff Scott, but I'm looking forward to the end of the season. And what I mean by that is, Coach Scott has been in his first year. We've been hearing a lot of different excuses or stories on why this team is underachieving, not performing well. Some people are saying, well, this is Coach Strong, this is what he left us, or Willie Taggart, these are what they left us, and, we were left with a bunch of crap and this and that. But, I'm interested in seeing, and this is what I feel, and I'd love to get your opinion, what Coach Scott needs to do. Of course, neither of us are in his position, although we do watch closely, is I think this is going to be the time what coaches call a time to reflect. This is what he's going to do at the end of the season. He now knows what everybody on this team is capable or not capable of doing. he also has learned what his coaching staff is capable of or not doing. And this is a time where Coach Scott, at the end of the year, needs to sit down immediately after the season is over, evaluate his staff, say, these people are my long-term staff and they're going to stay, or these people didn't cut it, we're going to replace them with new ones. And the same thing on the field with the on-field personnel, meaning the players, the ones like the Johnny Fords. Now, you and I both don't know what happened there, but if they are becoming a problem, now just remember this also, talking about Johnny Ford. Johnny Ford had issues before with staff, if you remember. I think 3 times in 2 seasons he's been suspended for various reasons. So this is not just an issue he had with one coaching staff. Jeff Scott just came over. Now, give him credit, like you said, 189 carries, 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, and had 31 receptions, another 300 yards, and 4 more touchdowns. So 70 touchdowns. But in my opinion, I think this is where Coach Scott needs to reflect and now make the moves that a coach should make, get the recruits that he needs. If quarterback is not the answer, which it obviously hasn't been the answer all year, then he needs to be aggressively going after quarterback in the offseason when recruiting comes.
No, Larry, I think you hit the nail on the head. And again, don't be surprised too. I know, we're heavily, an underdog, obviously, Friday afternoon. But don't be surprised if you don't see some trick plays, because what do they have to lose? I mean, Again, what do you have to lose? You've lost every conference game up till this point. Johnny Ford, again, like I said, he had issues with Charlie Strong. He was a great 1-2 punch with Jordan Cronkrite when Cronkrite was here. But, hey, you know what? Sometimes it's the writing on the wall with players. If they want to leave, let them leave. I hate to make an example, but look at Brian Flores in Miami. He had all these bad eggs, right? They wanted out. So he let them go. Let them go, let them out. And look what the Dolphins have done this year. They're right in the thick of things in the AFC East. Maybe that's what Jeff Scott needs to do here too, is clean the house, get his guys in here that believe that they can move forward. And again, this is not the way I think we all predicted. We didn't want the season to end 1-8. If that's the way it's going to be after Friday, we end the season 1-8. We didn't think that was the way it was going to end up. But at the end of the day, if that's the way it is, then we can, Coach Scott will go back and say, okay, this is what worked, this is what didn't work. So we need to focus on what did work and trash the season and get ready for 2021.
Yeah, because after Friday, excuses are done. Yep. Okay? I mean, we can use excuses. I don't like using it. I'm not saying Jeff Scott has been using them, but now, okay, now you got your first year under, you got your first year of recruiting, it doesn't matter what anyone says. Right now, Jeff Scott, and I know he does, I have nothing but the uttermost respect for Coach Scott, but his resume right now says 1-7. It doesn't say not my team. It says this is your team. So what he has to do now is go out and fix it and mold it into the type of team that he wants. I think people have to stop and understand he is not Dabo Swinney. He coached with Dabo Swinney. Just like John McVay of the Rams is not, John Gruden of the Raiders, who he coached under. They all have their own personalities. They all have their own system. They just educate and learn from these people. And I think Coach Scott is the right guy for the job, but he has to make those tough decisions and get those players in. And as you just alluded to, without Johnny Ford now in the picture, it looks like we're going to get to see plenty of Brian Battle and I would assume Kelly Joyner come this Friday.
Correct. Yeah. Again, Larry, I haven't heard whether I got credentials or not. I'm assuming we usually hear about it on Thursday, but obviously with the holiday, that's not going to happen. So I'm assuming sometime tomorrow I will learn if I did or didn't. I hope I do, because I've never seen a live USF-UCF game, so I hope that I do get an opportunity. But yeah, you're going to see the future Bulls this upcoming Friday. These guys that are seniors, are going to be gone next year. You're going to see the underclassmen step up, and the future is what is in front of us now. with this USF football team.
And, they're playing UCF, who just came off a real tough, if you want to talk about a tough loss, 36-33 to an undefeated Cincinnati team, Bearcat team. And they played good enough to win, but at the end of the game, they fell short. So they're going to be out. They got an explosive team. Here is a USF team who has not won a conference game and definitely wants to end the season without one conference win. These are teams, this is a rival. It doesn't matter what records are. One team can be 0-8, the other team can be 8-0, and we know both teams are going to come to play. But once again, we're going to face something on this Friday that we faced all year long. Who is going to be the starting quarterback?
I would imagine if he's healthy, Noah Johnson. I hope, Larry. If not, it's going to be Jordan McCloud. I don't know if you heard or not. There is a rumor going around that you might see Mackenzie Milton, the quarterback for UCF, coming back. I read an article yesterday online that Dylan Gabriel posted that there's an opportunity that Mackenzie might be playing tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but on Friday. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I would hope Noah Johnson, Larry, to answer your question, that's the best. He's been the best quarterback, the one that's been, the most solid at that position all season. And again, nothing on Jordan McCloud. McCloud played very well a year ago. That's a different style offense. Maybe the offense just doesn't work for him. And, you have Cade 14. I don't know about him. You may see all three again because we don't know. Maybe Jeff Scott will do that whole, quarterback carousel on Friday. Who knows? Wait and see.
Yeah, and, you talk about a potent offense. The UCF Knights definitely do have one. Look at some of these statistics I pulled up. Dylan Gabriel, who's been quarterbacking over 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. Then you got the running tantrum of Otis Anderson, who has 600 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. Then you got the guy that has more rushing touchdowns, Greg McCray, 550 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns. This is a team, and we'll get to the receivers in a minute, who are outstanding as well. But this is an offense that is explosive and pretty much, as we found out for Cincinnati, obviously has some opportunities on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, the UCF's been a high-powered offense for the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years. When Josh Heupel was there, now he's – I'm sorry. Yeah, no, Josh Heupel's there now. Their previous head coach had moved on to Nebraska. But they've been that way ever since. That's the way they do it. They can score in a matter of seconds. I mean, just think 2 weeks ago, because we didn't play last week against Navy due to COVID. Look at Houston. They scored in 3 plays on the first drive. Don't be surprised if UCF doesn't have drives like that on Friday against USF, especially without KJ Sales and that defense not playing very well all season. UCF's going to eat us alive on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I'm just checking my messages, making sure Billy has it. He'll be on in a couple moments. Yeah, and, then you look at the receivers on this team, Bradley, just impressive as you know what. Marion Williams, who I know very well, 71 catches. Listen to this. Over 1,000 yards receiving, 10 receiving touchdowns. And then you got Jalen Robinson. He has 46 catches, just under 900 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And they got a couple of other receivers who have 300 yards. So this is an offense that even though you see Williams with 1,000 yards, you got Robinson with 800 yards and a couple of other guys with 300. It tells you he's not afraid to spread around the football.
No, and actually, that's a way that, a lot of quarterbacks, whether you're at the college level or pro level, you can see that you win. You can win when you spread the ball around. Don't target one guy, because if you target one guy, obviously a defense can adjust. The Bulls defense is going to have their hands full, on Friday, trying to cover the running game, trying to cover, the wide receivers that UCF has. And, don't forget about Gabriel, who can also move a little bit on his own. So they have to watch for all that happening. And the only thing that we can do, Larry, is one, we got to win the third. We got to be better on third down conversions. And two, we have to win the turnover battle. If we can get some turnovers, we have an opportunity. But if they win the turnover battle and we keep punting the ball, it's going to be a long, long afternoon into early evening for us.
Yeah, and like we said, it's been a rough year. I mean, it's been a very rough year under a new system, new coaching staff. COVID-19 has definitely put a damper, and I don't like to use COVID as an excuse because everybody has to face that. So we're not the only team going at and facing that. But overall, I would love to see us, definitely compete in this game. It just, I just don't know if this offense is just too powerful for us to go ahead and compete.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say this, but for us to lose by between 14 and 21 points would be respectable. And I know that's a long shot because, like I said, the offense that UCF has is powerful. I'm not downing USF at all, but it's I'm looking at the match predictor on ESPN.com, and I just want to let you guys know that there's a 95% chance UCF wins this football game. 5%.
Well, you know what? That tells me there's a 5% chance that we can win the game.
So there you go.
That's the way I like to look at it.
That's how you can, yeah. So not very high, so if we can lose anywhere between by 14 or 21 points, or you know what, if we do pull an upset, that would be an outstanding way to end this season, but I don't see it in the cards. I just don't. I don't see it in the cards, unfortunately.
Well, let's go ahead and do this. It is my great honor, thrill, and pleasure to have on with us tonight a guy that I know follows the show. Me and him have now been talking roughly for a couple of months now, and we've both been able to work out schedules to allow us this opportunity to have him come in. We're bringing him in right now. Let's please welcome former USF, call him a fullback, call him a running back. He did it all. Let's welcome in Billy Henderson. Billy, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right, man. Not too bad. Hanging in there,
Well, first of all, happy holidays to you and yours. We want to make sure we get that in there. Billy, let me ask you a question. When we talk about winning, you definitely know something about winning, and you definitely know something about winning at USF. You started at USF 2002, played 2002, I believe. Don't quote me, but if I'm correct by memory, I'm going off this. I believe we were like 9-2 that year in 2002. Then we went 7-4 before having a losing record in 2004. Why don't you go ahead and tell the fans, who obviously are seeing us go through some troubled times right now, but tell them what USF football was like your freshman year when you started.
I think, when I first got to USF, we basically was in the groundbreaking, building the program up. It wasn't a whole lot of publicity from us because we was a new school. So, and then back then we had Coach Jim Levitt, which was really a force. He was to me, USF, Mr. USF, because he pushed us to be really more than what we was. And I think through him motivating us and us believing what he was selling allowed us to win a lot of our games. I mean, he was one of the best coaches that I think I ever had since I've been playing football, and I think through that, we've seen a lot of success, a lot.
Yeah, and you talk about those years. Talk about the fans then, because, USF was a program that actually, they started up later than a lot of schools, and they didn't have a tradition in football. They had in basketball, has had success in the 80s. Then when you guys came along, it was the first glimpse the city got of a college program winning in the football spotlight. I mean, talk about the media. I remember you playing either Virginia or Virginia Tech, that big game that year. I mean, I was there. It was
Yeah.
crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, because like I remember when I got there, we wasn't in the conference. We was in, I think we was in the independent conference my first year. And the year before that, we was in 1AA. So when I got there, I think we just came into officially Division I football. And we was in independent conference. And then the following year, we joined Conference USA. And I remember vividly when we joined Conference USA, that's when we really started getting notoriety. You know, we started to get on the bigger playing the bigger teams and being on ESPN, and the fans was going crazy. We really started getting that support from the community because people started to recognize us. Being a new team.
Yeah, and tell us the feeling. And you went through it a couple of times, obviously that year with 9 wins. But what it's like to know that you're an up-and-coming school, you may not be there yet, you may not have the talent of the big, ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams, and then you go out and you beat one of them.
I tell you what, us being a new school back then, we really didn't have anything to lose. We didn't have nothing to lose. We had everything to gain. And I think through that, on top of Coach Jim Leavitt motivating us, it just gave us the motivation that we need to in the will to beat these other schools, these bigger schools. By us being a new program, we had anything to lose. Nothing.
Now, talk about, was it end of 2003, maybe beginning of 2004? You can correct me if I'm wrong. You come down with a severe knee injury. Tell us about the knee injury. And, amazingly, from what I understand from back then is you were supposed to be out the whole year, but you surprised everybody's expectations and actually came back, I believe it was 3 games before the season ended and actually played. Talk about that injury, what it was, ACL, MCL, and how hard you had to fight to get back to just playing status.
Oh man, that injury still give me nightmares, man, because at that point in my life, before I got hurt, I thought I was Superman. I thought that I couldn't get hurt, that I was invincible. So when that injury happened, it really just messed with me mentally because I'm like, wow, I can be hurt. And I fought so hard. I remember fighting so hard to try to get playing time because back then we had a lot of good running backs,
right,
and all of us had something to bring to the table. And I was trying so hard and working so hard to actually get a foothold. And it seemed like when I was at that threshold, then all of a sudden that injury struck me. And I remember at practice, it was a broken play. And matter of fact, my roommate, Leroy Salmon Jr. on a broken play, and it wasn't his fault, Coach blew the whistle, and I slowed down. He come in full force, boom, smashed me. I end up, my leg ended up standing the ground, and I end up turning right, and like a nasty pop. And I knew right then and there, I knew something was wrong. But I just remember other guys on the team getting hurt, and they say, "Man, you gonna hear a pop when when something go bad." And I'm like, "Oh man, my ACL." And I remember trying to get up, and my leg just feeling like jello. So, next I think a week later, I went. No, not a week. Maybe about 3 or 4 days later, I went in and did an MRI, and they said it was my ACL was like disintegrated. Meniscus was torn in half, and I had a chipped bone, I guess, from the force. It chipped the bone inside of my knee. So it was pretty tough. It was a tough rehab. It was tough mentally, and it was like, 'cause I worked so hard. Everything you work so, and I've been playing football since I was 8 years old, and it's just like to have that moment just kind of blow up in front of you, in front of your eyes, is devastating. It's tough.
Now, Billy, you've seen this weekend. I know you still follow football. The just unfortunate, devastating injury to someone like Joey Burrows, with a similar situation with the leg. What was your first thought when you saw that? Because it's got to bring, every time you see that on a football field, it's got to bring back some type of memory for you.
Yeah, I know. I know what he's going through. It's devastating. You know, it's devastating to the team, and it's devastating, you know, to him. You know, and it's just when an athlete suffers an injury of that nature, it does something to him mentally. Because not only do you got to get over and try to heal your leg up, but mentally, it's something you got to get over too. Because I remember when I first came back,
Right.
I had to get over the fact that I didn't want anybody to touch my knee. And I was kind of always like, I don't touch my knee. So you kind of got to get over that too, you know? So it's mental and physical. So it's tough. It's tough on him and it's tough on the team.
So, Billy, you've seen the injury. For those people wondering, just that are listening, because I don't want to talk, you know, all about Joey Burrows, but if they said he had a reconstruction of the leg, he had a torn MCL, torn ACL. I mean, what are we looking at? Are we looking at least a couple of years before he can come back?
Oh, well, it just depends upon, I think, how he rehabs. You know, everybody heals a little bit different, but given the severity of injury, I would say I would at least give him maybe a year for him to be solid, for him to get over everything mentally and physically, everything to come back together.
Now, talk about, you know, the years we were talking about. We'll go back to USF. Do you remember? And you got to remember that first collegiate touchdown.
Oh, man, it was a great feeling. I think it was against FAU. And I think it was like either the third or fourth quarter. And I think I got the ball on the 20-yard line. And it was a good feeling, man. I was like, wow, man, my first touchdown. I can't believe I scored a touchdown. It was crazy. It was a good feeling, though.
I bet it wasn't. It wasn't the only one you scored. Obviously, you scored more. So let me ask you this. You come back, you play the last 3 games, you have a solid performance in those 3 games, at least solid enough to be announced as the starting running back the following season. But hold on a minute. Instead of being the starting quarterback, you made your own personal decision not to play for the Bulls that year. Why don't you tell a story? I mean, you went, I think, to play division. I don't know if it was single A, double A.
Yeah, it was double A.
Right. You went to play double. What was your mindset on here you are? Now, I understand if, you know, you didn't win the position, maybe get more of an opportunity to play. But here was a situation where, at least from what I understand, if I'm wrong, once again, correct me, that you were announced by coach that you were going to be the starting running back.
Yes, I actually won a starting role, but in that whole process of me winning the role, to win the starting job, they brought in another guy who I used to play with and play against in high school, Andre Hall. They brought him in on the mix, and because coach didn't know if I was going to come back and be ready for the season, so they ended up bringing him in. But as they was bringing him in, I think as I made my return, I remember Coach Levitt called me in his office, and he was just like, Billy, I think we're going to try to go a different direction with you. And he was like, I'm looking to move you from offense to defense. I'm looking to move you to safety or cornerback, somewhere in the secondary. And when he said that, I'm like, man, I didn't come here to play defense. You know, I could have went to another school. I could have went to Miami, you know, if I was going to play defense. So that, you know, I don't really want to go into everything, but that right there kind of left a little sour taste in my mouth. So I was kind of seeing somewhat of the writing on the wall. I think he just didn't know how durable I was going to be. Mm-hmm. So I think he had in his mind, I don't know if Henderson gonna be able to carry us through the season. So we're bringing in another guy. We're probably gonna go with him. So as a result of that, I was like, you know what? I think I'm starting to see the writing on the wall. So that's what made me kind of, you know, decide to go a different direction.
You know? All right. Let me go ahead and bring Bradley Lewis in here in a minute. Ask some questions before I wrap it up. Bradley, okay. I want to make sure you get some equal time. I have if you didn't notice, I sometimes don't know when to shut up, you know.
I got a couple of questions, Billy, for you. First, what was it like playing under Jim Levitt? You spoke earlier about that. Can you go into more detail about what it was like to play under Coach Levitt?
Man, I tell you what, man, he was very, very tough coach. But Coach Jim Levitt gave us a lot of life lessons. He always gave us things to think about. At practice, he will always say, "Give 100%, give 100%." Do things with fire. And he always inspire us. Every practice it was some type of message. He say, you guys mean that some of you guys won't understand us right now, but when you become a man, it'll hit home. And I promise you, a lot of life lessons that Coach Levitt has given me still sticks with me to this day. And I know a lot of other guys feel the same way, man. He's a great coach, man. Full of energy, full of life, man. Funny. A lot of good memories with him. And I don't have anything against Coach Jim Levitt, man. He's one of my. I think he was one of my. Was one of my best coaches.
And the second question is, because I'm a fellow Pinellas Parker myself, I have to ask, what was life growing up in Pinellas Park? I spent 35 of my 37 living years on the planet in Pinellas Park. I have to ask, what was it like growing up here and going to Pinellas Park High School?
Man, you know what? It was good. My mom and dad went to Pinellas Park too. My dad played football and my mom ran track, and I had my uncle play football too. So it felt pretty good because they kind of laid down the foundation. My parents was pretty good athletes. My dad played Division II football, and my mom ran track at Florida Gators. So it was good though to kind of carry on the legacy. And then my brother, I had an older brother, 1 year older than me, that went there. So it was a fun time. It was good. I enjoyed myself at Pinellas Park.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this Friday, and I know it's on your mind, so don't tell me it's not, Billy. UCF versus, the Bulls. I mean, obviously, we've had better seasons than we've had before. UCF's coming off a game which they almost beat the undefeated Bearcats of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Talk about this rivalry, the war on I-4. What does this rivalry mean if you're an athlete at USF?
You know what? Since it's so close, this right here is kind of like you get the bragging rights for the year because it's so close. And I know it's so many athletes that's on USF and UCF that know each other and they maybe play high school with each other. So it's like everything. It's our closest in-state rival. They right up the road. So I think this is a big game, for both teams. And I think it's going to be a good game. I think both teams just going to come and just come to play because it's such a close, in proximity, so it's going to be, a good game. Obviously, I'm going for USF.
Right. Now, me and Bradley were talking earlier. We were just, happen to be saying it don't matter what the records are of these two teams when they play. One
exactly.
can be 0-8, one can be 8-0.
Yeah. There's
something about this game that brings out the best in athletes from both sides.
Yeah, it definitely. It's going to be. It don't matter what the records are. It's just whoever shows up that night, is a team that's going to win. Whoever shows up to play, and that's going to be a team that's going to be, that's going to, get the win.
Billy, we've had a tough season. Well, 0-6 in the conference, 1-7 on the year. In your opinion, what is it that you think after this UCF game, of course, win or lose, that the coaching staff needs to do so that they can get us back on track next year and in a winning direction?
I think they should need to take time to regroup, not try to be so technical, maybe get back to the basics. You gotta build from the inside out. The players have to buy into what the coach is selling. That's pretty much what it comes down to, because they have the talent. It's there.
Now, Billy, I want to make sure before we let you run, and I don't know how long you've been doing it. I'm not even sure if you own the company, but I know that you've been doing a lot of work out there to help what you're doing and explain to people what you're doing, because I look at it and I can only see what you have, of course, on social media, but
Yeah.
it looks like it's pretty intense. It looks like some boxing is involved in it.
Yeah.
And, conditioning, and it looks really exciting. Why don't you explain what it is?
So kind of what I do is, I train professional athletes, anywhere from boxers to baseball players, even a couple football players, and I do some personal training. So anybody looking for any type of conditioning, wanting to get in shape, want to have fun while you're doing it, you can follow me on Instagram at I am Billy Flex. That's my Instagram, and also I got a YouTube channel, B Flex Gym Motivation. So. And I haven't made anything in a while because the gym's been kind of weird with the COVID-19.
Right.
So hopefully, once we get over the second wave, I'll be back and forth for us, putting out more videos, more content, and taking on more clients. But right now, I'm kind of sticking with my
Bill,
core
is
group.
it more of like these athletes out there that have their own personal trainer? Is that what it's similar to?
Yeah, I got a lot of private clients. Like I say, I got 2 players that play in MLB. I got 1 professional boxer, Roberto Ramirez, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist from Cuba. He beat Shakur Stevenson in 2016, and I think that was that Rio? Yeah, Rio Olympics. And now he's boxing for top rank.
Wow. So, Bill, how big of a thrill is it for you to train someone like that, and then you see them go on and be successful?
Man, it feels good because I know I played a role in their success. So it makes me kind of give me a little feather in my cap. Like, okay, I did something good.
Now, Bill, you being a former athlete and doing this, and I love to ask athletes this question, especially ones that are doing similar work to you. Now, when you go about training an athlete, obviously you're making sure you get them in the best physical shape that they can be. But how much of what you do is teaching them the mental part of the industry as well?
Well, I think, I think a lot of some of the athletes that, I train, they get to that point of like they want to kind of quit. And I have to try to explain to them to say, it's only when you push to the point of no return do you get better. You have to push. It's good and it's great. And I always tell them, I say, you can be good, okay? You can do good and give me 10 reps, or you can be great and you can give me 20 reps or 30 reps. I try to show them the difference. I said, if you come in here and you get 100, you give 110%, right? Now, off season, when it's time to play your games, it's going to show, I said, because you have to win, you start winning games during your training all season. That's when you start getting better. That's where you win the games. You hit the home runs, you score the touchdowns. We got to do that stuff now. So I try to sell them mentally on that we have to really push ourselves. If you want to be great, you have to push up. You have to push ourselves very, very hard. And we have to work harder than anybody else.
Yeah, and I agree. Well, listen, my friend, I want to thank you so very, very much on behalf of myself and Bradley for coming on Bullseye tonight. Believe me, we enjoyed having you as a guest, and I want to make sure that, once again, I wish you the happiest of holidays.
Okay, same to you. Thanks for having me. Go Bulls.
All right, go Bulls.
All right.
Well, you can say it now, Bradley, or you can wait. But here's another guy, and here's a guy that is senior year that made a decision not to stay at USF and still loves Coach Levitt. Has nothing bad, and we say it all the time. It just seems like when you're talking about USF, and I know we get a lot of people on this show that listen to us from different areas in the state of Florida. If we look right now, you probably can name almost every county in Florida. It seems like we at least have one list on. Listen to these guys. If you're an athlete, a 5-star athlete, a 4-star athlete, and you're looking for a place where every single play that you come, whether it's basketball, football, women's basketball, which we're going to talk about in a couple of moments. It's just incredible the amount of positivity that these players have and talk about when we bring up USF again to them.
Yeah, again, Larry, I don't think we've had one athlete or former athlete say anything negative. And, like Billy just said, hey, I made the decision to leave USF, and I still love Jim Leavitt. So, I mean, you can't, you can't hurt the guy by no means. And it kind of hope maybe if any of the USF current athletes or current students or even future students are watching this program, hey guys, USF's a good school to go to shine, and the opportunity is there for you guys to go do it. So go do it, go there, enjoy it.
Yeah, you talk about go do it and about the success, and one of the teams that is definitely looking to have a very successful year this year has to be the men's basketball team, which opens up tomorrow. For those of you that did not know it, they open up tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. at the Yuengling Center. Now, remember, no fans are allowed, are being admitted, obviously, at least for the beginning of the season. And this is a team that has a lot of pieces come back. They have, out of the 13 players on this Bulls team, 9 of them are returning from last year. And when you talk about continuity and playing together, Brian Gregory couldn't have asked for more than 9 guys returning.
No, Larry, you're like I said, I said a couple weeks ago that I had the opportunity of attending my one and only USF basketball game a year ago, and Brian Gregory is a very animated coach. I was sitting on the Bulls side of the arena, and he's a very animated guy. And getting back Alexis Yetna, that's going to help definitely. And I think we discussed it too, that they're ranked in the middle of the pack in the AAC this year, which is good. Let us be ranked in the middle of the pack. That way, we don't have any. We're not the top team. We're not going to be the one that has a target on our back, and we can surely sneak up there with 9 guys returning. It's pretty good that we have 9 guys coming back for this year.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with you. And, first of all, let's take a quick look at the first week here. Tomorrow, Florida College, okay? It's pretty much a tune-up game. Then they travel after Thanksgiving. Saturday night, they're playing in Connecticut. I think it's a little type tournament. They're playing University of Rhode Island at 5:30 Saturday night. Then the next night, the following night, Sunday at 8 p.m., they're playing Virginia Tech. So we should have a real good idea of what this team looks like by the time we come on next week with this team playing 3 games.
Yeah, Larry, we're going to have 3 games to look over. I definitely, being that I have to work tomorrow before the holiday, I will be, I'll be monitoring the game on my phone. I'll be watching to see where they're at. It will be a tune-up game against Florida College tomorrow, and then of course Rhode Island will not be easy, and then of course Virginia Tech's not going to be easy either. So, yeah, I'm looking forward. It would be nice to, hopefully not to jinx them, but maybe they're going to be 3-0 by the time we come back next week on the air.
And that would be awesome, wouldn't it? And also, look at this for those of you fans out there wondering about conference play. Conference play begins on December 16th. Now, that sounds like it's far away, but when you guys wake up tomorrow, that's going to be only a little over 2 weeks away.
Right.
And because it's already Thanksgiving. So basically, they play the 16th. They play away versus Cincinnati, a really, really good team last year. And also, they will play their home conference opener in the AAC on the 22nd versus Wichita State. So 2 dates to look for, obviously conference play being a big, big deal. Now, I'm going to break down some of what I see with this team this year. You mentioned Yetna. This guy was out all last year, if you remember, due to an unbelievable knee injury. I think with the ACL injury he had, but the prior year he led the AAC with 9.6 rebounds per game, also pumped in 12 points a game, and he is considered right now this year by the coaches in the AAC as a member of the preseason all-conference second team. So that just tells you that how big of a piece Alexis fits in, Yetna fits in and is part of this USF Bulls team.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, he's 6'8", 234 pounds. That's a big guy. And I mean, if he can move, again, we'll have to see, obviously where we're going to have to see what is, like Billy was saying, when you tear your knee up like that, it's the trust. Do you have that trust? Do you make sure the mental part of the game, when you come back, are you going to be afraid that someone's going to bump into your knee? So we're going to have to see how, Alexis Yetna does in these first 3 games to see what he has. But, I mean, I'm reading here they have 2 key newcomers in Prince Adaro from Mississippi State, who's a transfer, and freshman guard Caleb Murphy, who's a 4-star talent from Georgia. So those are 2 new guys that we didn't have a year ago. So Coach Gregory's got some boys coming in here to get this team motivated. Like I said, man, it would be great to come on here next Tuesday and then be 3-0 after their first 3 games.
Yeah, you talk about this guy, freshman Caleb Murray, that the 4-star guard from Georgia you were talking about. Mm-hmm. He was ranked the 8th best recruit in the state. And then you also mentioned redshirt junior out of Mississippi. What was his Prince Aduro?
Yes.
This guy, I don't know if you got to watch him play, but I did. He is a force underneath the board. He is a rebounding machine, and he's real physical and strong and pumps in points. He just seems to be able to find the basket wherever he is on the court. And then, they also have another guy that I want to see where his name was. I wrote his name down. I believe it's pronounced Russell Takua, who's really, really a good ball player. I have trouble with some of the names here, but really, really good ball player as well. So, it should be an interesting year now. Based on what we've heard throughout the preseason, the AAC, and you and I don't care about rankings. We know they don't mean anything at the beginning.
Right.
But as far as the coaches go in the AAC, they ranked them right in the middle. They ranked them 5th in the AAC behind Houston, Memphis, SMU, and Cincinnati. So this is a team that, the coaches in that conference are saying, whoa, this team could be a very competitive team. And then remember Coach Gregory, you mentioned his feisty style earlier. He's in his 4th season. Now, his record shows he's 48-53, but remember, and not that we negate it, but he went 10-22 his first season as a coach. So that makes up a lot of those losses that first year. But, closing out what we think of the men's before we get to the women, this is a team that can be very, very sneaky and play the game under the radar. That could be an average NCAA ball club, that I really think could play over 500 basketball in the AAC.
No, Larry, I agree. I mean, I'm looking at this right now. They did beat Florida College back in 2019, February last year, 95-54. So that's the previous meeting that they have against the team. Like I said earlier, being that you're in the middle of the conference, you're not going to have the target on your back. You're not the top dog. No one's chasing you, and that could be good. That, like you said, under the radar. This team could play, at 500 basketball or be just above 500 by the time the season rolls around. And, who knows, man? At the end of the year, we could be one of those bubble teams that gets into the big dance. A team that no one's ever heard of. You know what? It's not like in college football where you have to be in the Power 5. March Madness is a whole different ball of wax, and it would be great to see USF possibly in that tournament or even in the NIT would be great also.
And we're gonna find out this weekend, my friend. We find out 11:30 tomorrow to start, but we got a full slate of games. And for those of you fans wondering, don't go scattering and looking. You just need to look at the bottom of our screen. It tells you the first game for the men's, the women's, and of course the UCF football game coming up. But you're talking about an under radar team. When you talk about the women's basketball team, it's a completely different radar because they're smack in the middle of this radar. And you got to look at a couple of things when it comes to the woman. The woman team is the first time that I think UConn is not in the same division as them. They moved back to the Big East. And the team that's always given UConn fits in that conference is who? The University of South Florida. So now the ladies Bulls are actually favored. When once again we take rankings with a grain of salt, but they're favored to win the AAC.
Yeah, this Larry, again, I'm starting to get more USF acts. Obviously, I'm big into football. I've been able to cover the team the last 3 seasons, but I'm starting to turn my attention to basketball. Coach Fernandez, the local, radio here, everyone at USF loves him. And he has done an absolute fantastic job with this women's basketball team. Like you said, they were the thorn in the side of UConn. UConn, guys, if you don't know, UConn is the top women's program in all women's basketball in college. That's it. That's just the way it is. The standard is set there. But USF gave them fits. Whether it was in UConn, whether here was at the Yuengling Center. But Coach Fernandez, again, this team, they're going to be damn good. They're going to be damn good this year moving into this.
And they're going to be tested right away because in the first month of September, they're playing the reigning NCAA champion, Baylor. They're playing.
Correct.
And they're also, let's see, they come back and they play, I believe it's Mississippi State as well. So they end up playing the number 4 and the number 6 team in the NCAA right away. Now, you're talking about Coach Fernandez. Listen to this for all you listeners out there. This is a coach that has given his life and soul basically to USF. He's been with the team. He's going on his 21st season. Just to put that in perspective, he's been here since the year 2000, okay? And USF has won at least 19 games since 2011, every year since 2011. That's amazing. 19 wins in the AAC is incredible. And remember, you're playing Connecticut a couple of times during the season there. And it's just amazing. Under Fernandez, they've had 15 postseason appearances. And like I said, no UConn. So they're picked to win the NFC. The AAC. Well, let's talk about their team a little bit. They're going to be led by sophomore Elena Sinicki, who's averaging 12.4 points a game, 16th in the conference last year, and I think she won Freshman of the Year award and AAC third team. So that's a big win. Then what's her name? Maria Alvarez can play a real key role after she had all we hear about is these knee injuries. Well, she had a knee injury last year, and she's going to be back. So there's another great person. Then you got second-year players, and I'll tell you what, anybody that can pronounce these names I give my buddy Ed Hammond, he's the play-by-play announcer for men's football and also for women's basketball for pronouncing these names, but Christina Bermejo, Christina Robin Culver, also Mihaela Lasic. That could be the difference in this team last year. And one of the better forwards in this game, in the women's, in the AAC, has to be Katrina Manunga. She's averaged 10.1 rebounds a game. And I think that was second in the AAC last year. So you put all that together, and there's still another one. Junior guard, she's more of a point guard. She's the one that puts this team on the court and directs what's going on, and that's Elisa Pinzon. She's the point guard who's been averaging 5.2 assists a game. So you take a look at this women's team, and there's not a lot of holes. There's rebounding, there's playmakers, there's scorers. Everything you're looking for in a team to be well-balanced, they have what it takes to win, not only win the AAC, but maybe go further than a lot of people are expecting.
Yeah, I guess, Larry, we were just talking about the men's basketball team. This team definitely could be a threat in the women's, March Madness that they have. Again, like you said, Coach Hernandez has been here for 20 years. I mean, he's given it all for him, given his life for the team. And they have a great senior core. Upperclassmen are great. They have freshmen coming in here, and I can't see, unless barring they stay healthy, that's the one thing we hope. Yeah. Injuries, this team should be one of the solid women's basketball teams coming into this season, especially now with UConn not in the conference anymore. They should be able to play very, very well throughout the conference.
Yeah, and just a couple key dates before we wrap it up here for you. Realize that the women's basketball team, a little bit different than the men's side, they're only going to be playing the entire season. They're only playing 4 non-conference games, okay? And 2 of them are the first weeks, next week, basically, when they play Baylor and Mississippi State. They open their AAC play versus Memphis at Memphis December 16th. And the home opener is just a great, solid Houston team on December 19th. But remember, their season starts this Saturday, 4 o'clock p.m. versus Jacksonville. So, they'll be starting this weekend as well. And we already mentioned the 2 games, obviously, on with Baylor and Mississippi State. So when you look at the sports switching gears here, Bradley, and we go from football, which has been a struggle the whole year, it's been frustrating. Anytime you lose, it's frustrating. Going to a really lot of excitement built around both the men's and the women's basketball team.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be great, Larry. I mean, I think both teams are legitimately good. I think when it's all said and done, they both could be in the thick of it when it comes to the NCAA tournament or the NIT on the men's side. But the women are going to be a great team. They've been a great team for the last few years. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the transition. And, guys, bear with me. I'm not the biggest college basketball guy. My co-host is more into basketball than I am, but I will pick up the lingo and everything moving forward. As Tim Tebow said, I will be prepared for the rest. You won't see anybody more prepared than I'll be for the rest of the season.
And, we talk about the basketball and we talk about all this. First of all, I do want to let everybody know it's tentative now, but either next week, Tuesday, or the following week, I am very proud to announce that we should be having the women's head basketball coach, Jose Fernandez, on with us. I got a message back from my good buddy Michael Hogan, who is head of communications there with the basketball team, and they're in the process of, working out the schedule, see when they're playing, obviously, so that because we're only on one night a week, so I have to work it out to that weekday that they're not playing, and they do have a couple of Tuesday games coming up at the beginning of the season. So in the future, we are proud to announce that we know we're going to have him on. We're still waiting. I know everyone's saying, well, where's Mike Kelly? But I'm still being promised through emails that he will be coming on. Understand, guys, that these guys are going through a lot this year. I mean, they don't, especially as an athletic director, they're having to postpone this, reschedule this. There's so much on these guys' plates, not just from the sports, but the liability part of it and everything involved with COVID-19. So, the last thing we want to do is push those guys to come on. And we do want to definitely show them the respect they deserve for the unbelievable, great job they're doing under these unfortunate circumstances. That's number one. Number two, I guess we said we would announce this tonight. So I'm going to do it while Bradley's on. That's fine. He won't mind. But tomorrow, there we go. Tomorrow night, we are going to have a Frankly Speaking sports show. I am not having a show on Thursday due to Thanksgiving holiday, so we'll be back next Monday. But I do want to remind everybody that we have a very, very special guest on tomorrow night, Wednesday night. I couldn't think of a better guest to have on the night before Thanksgiving and a couple of days after the Rams beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, unfortunately. But we're going to have 1984 gold medalist and former All-Pro wide receiver from the Los Angeles Rams. Now I just went blank. I did went blank here. Stay with me, buddy. Make sure I got the time right that he's coming on. Okay, I got the time right. We're going to be going at 9 o'clock tomorrow, and it's going to be former 1984 gold medalist in track and also wide receiver All-Pro for the Los Angeles Rams. Ron Brown is going to be on with us tomorrow. If you guys ever followed the Los Angeles Rams, you know who Ronnie Brown is. Trust me, one of the best track stars of all time in the 80s and definitely an unbelievable wide receiver back in the 80s as well. But I did check our time. We're not going early. That's what the hesitation was for. It will be 9 p.m. Eastern time. That is an event you don't want to miss. As far as Bradley and I go, we're going to be back Tuesday night, 9 p.m., normal time. We're going to have some, at least minimum, some college football from this week to, barring any postponement that we're unaware of. And we also will have plenty of basketball to talk about. So, it's beautiful when we have a fun, full-packed show like this and are able to continue to talk. And, of course, we will definitely have many, many guests. We'll try to get as many as we can. And I do want to, one more time, thank the great Billy Henderson for joining us today. What a great, great interview. You got a good insight on what it was like to play during those glory years for USF. On behalf of myself, Bradley Lewis Walker, Bradley, want to make sure I take the time to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving holiday.
You too, Larry. Thank you. You too.
Thank you. And both of us will be back Tuesday night on another episode